Hi, this is Dee at Aloha, Astro. Let's take a look at the forecast for the full moon in Aquarius and the Lionsgate portal, August 8th and 9th, 2025. The full moon in Aquarius occurring in the wee hours of Saturday, August 9th, and the peak of the annual Lionsgate portal week on Friday, August 8th, are joining forces to usher in some extraordinary spiritual upgrades, information downloads, and powerful manifesting abilities, while revealing hidden knowledge or dormant talents, and reconnecting you with your inner truth and creative genius. As the full moon in a fixed air sign opposes the sun in a fixed fire sign, while the rising star Sirius aligns with the sun, earth, and the galactic center, and Orion's belt lines up with the pyramids at Giza. An Aquarius full moon often heralds new knowledge, change, and a focus on freedom, individuality, truth, and the future, on both a personal and a societal level. But what makes this full moon special in my eyes is the potent alchemy of the ruling planet of Aquarius, Uranus, sitting in the mutable air sign of curious and social Gemini, asking, "What if?" on the top of a castle aspect pattern that taps into Mars in Libra, Mercury retrograde in Leo, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and Saturn conjunct Neptune, both retrograde in Aries, and containing a mystic rectangle, a grand trine in the air element, and two kite aspect patterns. I know I can hear the collective moaning over the retrograde planets, but they are vital for introspection and realignment, and the more attention you can pay to them in whatever area of your own natal chart they are transiting, and the deeper you can go into aspects of yourself you have suppressed or denied, and the more you can revisit and reevaluate your past relationships, behavior, dreams, in this life, in past lives, and even in your ancestral lineage, the better you will understand and accept yourself and your connection to the all that is, while clearing space for new future knowledge, relationships, and memories. Venus and Jupiter are conjunct in Cancer and setting up a T-square with Saturn, Neptune, and Mars, which combines the physical and material realm of reality and desire with the higher spiritual meaning and leaning toward the connection, place, or task which you are presently choosing to show up for, even if there are challenges or uncertainty concerning an eventual outcome. A second T-square of Mercury retrograde, Pluto, and Chiron retrograde in Aries can push you to do a radical thing through the persuasive power of warrior and hero archetypes, even if you have a justifiable reason to be frightened or self-protective based on your past. But this full moon in Aquarius and the Sun and Mercury retrograde in Leo are asking you to free yourself from your old stories and take a chance on writing a new life contract. At the core of this full moon and Lionsgate portal are communication, creativity, courage, and the uniqueness and individuality of you. The more you step into your divinity, the more you will attract the relationships, opportunities, and conditions that best support you and reflect the truth of you. I received the message that Archangel Uriel is available to provide protective, but energizing and enlightening, assistance if you feel ready for the next level, but would feel safer having an angelic coach and friend by your side. Just ask. So let's take a look at a very busy chart, which is really quite beautiful. I also just realized that besides the mystic rectangle, the grand trine, two kites, we also have two cradles being created by the minor grand trines, the three of them that overlap in here. And at the top of it all is the ruling planet for the sign that this full moon occurs in, of Aquarius. That is that planet of uniqueness, individuality, how you see the world differently, your own creative genius, change, the future, the urge for freedom, It is also a strong planet of impulse, and all the support that it's receiving right now through all these aspect patterns is saying, take the chance, go and do that new thing. Try it and see what is the worst that can happen. Don't even think what is the worst that can happen. Think what is the best that can happen, and create something new. We have the creativity of Leo right now with both Mercury and the Sun. We have relationships coming up because of Mars in Libra. Libra rules the 7th house of one-on-one relationships. Diplomacy in relationships, as well as harmony, perfection, beauty in both relating as well as aesthetically in design. We have a lot of artistic energy right now in the sky, a lot of creativity, a lot of desire to socialize, to get to know people better, to get to know ourselves better through connection with other people. That is what that full moon is highlighting, and the balance between the moon and the sun. The planets, the lights that are sitting there in the sun in Leo and the moon in Aquarius, the houses or areas of the chart that they're associated with are the 5th, and the sun belongs to that 5th house, belongs to Leo. So the 5th house, romance, dating, creativity, children, pets, hobbies, entertainment, competition, gambling, all types of things that we do where we play and we create with others is highlighted with the Leo energy. And where we take all that creativity and share it with others is the 11th house, ruled by Aquarius and the planet Uranus. Friends, groups, organizations, the stage, the gallery, the audience, the internet, fame, popularity, future trends, science and technology, where, and wish fulfillment, basically the advancement of society as a group toward the future. And the sharing of the creativity of the 5th is brought to a higher octave as it expresses through that 11th house, where it's shared with more people. And it's not just done for the personal pleasure, but to bring something out into the world that others can also enjoy. So first, take a look at your natal chart and determine where do you have the Aquarius and Leo energy right now, and then realize that we have a very scattered sky. We are only missing right now a couple of signs, and the planets are well spread out. So you will have a lot of activity in different areas of your life. If you feel particularly busy, like there's more going on than you can handle in a day and you wish you had a 48-hour day, this is why. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. The other aspect pattern in here, and I did a little digging because I couldn't remember, does it even have a name? But yes, possibly it's called a spike. I think I have to do a little more exploring to confirm that. But whenever I see those dotted lines in there, I know there's something going on a subconscious level, something that is rather wordless, but it still creates a pull. And this is kind of like a shadow of the mystic rectangle, but it involves the moon, Saturn, Neptune, the sun, and Mars. So there is some sort of a subconscious turning point here where probably you will have that culminating feeling that comes at a full moon, where you simply internally decide that whether it's right or wrong is not as important as simply finally doing something and then seeing what comes next, what will come next once you move forward. And that just is backed up or reaffirmed by that planet Uranus up there, pulling all that energy. The two T-squares are in here, as you can see, but there is certainly enough in all the trines and the sextiles to balance out any resistance or friction or blockage, limitation, fear that might be generated by those T-squares. T-squares can be used like leverage, like a pry bar. They push your buttons and get you to do things. All those trines and sextiles are supportive and bring flow, but very often we take them for granted and we feel those T-squares more than we might feel a grand trine. So get over your stuff, your fear, your resistance. Go do that thing anyway and see what happens. Let's take a look at the Sabian symbol. We are at an even 17 degrees at this lunation. We've got Aquarius 17 degrees. A watchdog stands guard, protecting his master and his possessions. Keynote: the development of the capacity to protect oneself and to safeguard one's individual rights under complex social pressures. What seems to be implied in this symbol, considering its position in the entire cycle, is that under present-day social conditions, the individual person needs protection against the ever-growing encroachments of society upon his theoretically recognized right to lead a private life free from public interference. Seen in this light, the symbol stands in contrast to the preceding one depicting the power of big business and the totalitarian implications of large-scale organization. At a deeper occult level of interpretation, it also reveals the need to protect oneself against astral intrusions and perhaps black magic, the more so as one ventures into supernormal states of consciousness. It is said that the adept trains certain subhuman entities, elementals, to protect him. The Christian religion speaks of guardian angels in a related sense. At this second stage, we see the individual able to master natural energies, which he enlists in his service, so he may pursue his individualized work of destiny in security. This is another aspect of the relationship of individual to society. Individuals, of course, do also seek to rob or injure other persons, but the state of affairs resulting from a society glorifying competition, ambition, and success at any cost is largely responsible for individual violence. The more creative the person, the greater his or her need for protection. That's an interesting statement. It's just a very interesting Sabian symbol, to be honest. I can think of many things to say about that and to relate to what's presently going on beyond the degree of that full moon. There are other things that come up in here that do make sense based on the transits. I know I have mentioned my process in the past. I look at the chart for the day, or in this case, the full moon, and just see what it says to me. And then I go looking for art or photography, a picture that will represent that feeling. And very often, I'm always amazed at how relevant things are, and there's deeper encoding and messages too, very often in the art or the pictures that I choose. And if you go and search them and study them, and especially in things like paintings, and read what's behind it, you can get deeper meaning behind the forecasts that I write. It's all patterns. It's just all energy and patterns expressed in a different way. But I always start with the chart, and in the case of the full moon, the last thing I actually do is pull up the Sabian symbols and read it. And as I was looking at the chart and feeling the energy, I had a communication from Archangel Uriel, and I decided to go and put the search terms Uriel and the Sphinx and full moon into Google image search, which yielded all three things. I was actually rather surprised, and it just seemed incredibly relevant that it comes from a tarot deck called the Akashic Tarot, because many of the retrograde planets, particularly Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries, are about the connection you have to source and who you have been perhaps many times in the past, but who are you essentially, both on the material and the spiritual level, because Saturn is a very material, physical planet, and Neptune is an idealistic and spiritual planet. And they are together right now in that cardinal fire sign that says, I am. So there's opportunity right now for seeking, but most of the seeking is going to be back in the past through all the retrograde planets. Expect that you may have some crisis, upheaval, and catharsis as you go through all that because of Pluto right now in Aquarius, and that is going to be resonating with that full moon. Even though we do not have the exact conjunction anymore, that was actually yesterday when it was in early degrees. I did not do a separate forecast for the 8th because it's essentially the same aspect patterns. You're feeling that full moon. It's not the exact opposition yet on the 8th, but pulling into it. And then the very early morning on the 9th is when that opposition is exact, and you would continue to feel that full moon throughout the day on the 9th. So you're getting a bit of a double whammy just because of the time when that full moon occurs, the 8th and the 9th. And all the other aspect patterns would still be in place. Anything else? Oh, well, Mercury is retrograde, and it is in a T-square with Pluto and Chiron. And because Mercury does rule transportation, communication, if you are going to say something, particularly anything of a serious nature, be sure that you mean it, and that you won't regret what you say later, because there may be no backseats. This is it. If you say it, that's it. Also, in terms of travel, transportation, just be aware that it is the full moon, and that can often make people more emotionally volatile, and feelings are intense, and people may be acting that out on the road or behaving in an unpredictable manner because of the Aquarius energy. Expect the unexpected as always when the moon is in Aquarius. Allow yourself plenty of time to get to where you need to go, and double check all your plans. There is good support for communication, so use it. Use your words. Enjoy this full moon, Lionsgate portal, write your intentions, and manifest your desires.